Welcome back to Thistle Hill Farmstead. Today we're going to be installing this PetSafe extreme weather pet door. For those of you who watch our channel, you'll know that we have two Australian Shepherd dogs and we're constantly letting the dogs in and out. So we thought this would be a great addition to the house so that the dogs could come and go as they please. Now, if you're curious to know what's in the box, I did do a separate video on just the unboxing of this door. So if you'll look in the description below, you'll see a link to that video. And this video is going to be the installation. So let's get started. This is a door we're going to put the doggy door into. Now this door is one that goes out onto our patio, and it's not our main entrance. It's like a secondary entrance. So I think it would be great for the doggy door. It's adjacent to our bedroom, and you can see Charlie is laying in there. That's where their little doggy beds are. So it'll be great for them to be able to come in and out of the side door. And I think that's where we'll put the doggy door. It comes with some mounting hardware. These are plastic screws. I don't know about that. I guess they're going to be fine, but I may invest in some actual metal screws. And I did notice that this cover has cutouts for hexagonal head screws, and these are round. So maybe, yeah, look at that. So maybe I will go and see if I can find some hexagonal head screws that will fit in here. These have a Phillips head end, and I assume you just need to hold that with a screwdriver. But if you have a hex head screw that fits in there, you should be good to go. Now these will be easy to cut off the additional length once you get it installed, but I don't know about the plastic. I guess it'll be good enough. Okay, here I am in the nut and bolt section of my Ace Hardware. Okay, it looks like this is an 832. The longest they have is 3 inches, which is pretty close to what this is. So I think that'll do. So we'll pick up a couple of these 832s in metal and use those instead of the plastic ones. And then I thought while I was here, I saw these acorn nuts, and I think that'll look nice for the finish instead of just having this screw showing in the door. If I put these acorn nuts on, that'll look good. So I picked up a couple of those, and again, those are 832s, and that'll make it look nice. Okay, so I've got my acorn nuts, I've got my new bolts to replace this plastic thing, and the little nut here. So we'll see how that does. And you just put them in a bag and write down the quantity and the price, and they ring them up for you. Step 1 is to measure and mark your pet's shoulder height on the door, and then determine the vertical center line of your door. So we're going to do that now. Come here, Charlie. Come here, buddy. So the first step in the instructions, come here Charlie, is to mark your dog's shoulder height on the door. So this is Charlie. He's going to stand here, and I'm going to take a ruler and I'm just going to mark. Hey Dixie, you want to be in the video too? Right here, that's your shoulder height. So I've got that marked on the door, and this is where you will put the top of the doggy door. Okay buddy, thank you. That was very good. So here's our top line, and then I'll put the template on. I'll mark the center of the door, and then we'll tape our template on, and we'll know where to cut our hole. I don't know if you could do this with the door on, but I'm going to take the door off and just put it on to some sawhorses, so it'll make it easier to cut when I do cut it out. Step 2 is to remove the door from its frame, its hinges, and to take your template and mark out the opening. Now somehow I lost the audio on my recording here, so I'm going to do some voiceover here. But what I'm going to do is remove these hinge pins from the door to take the door off. Now this door is pretty tall, as you can see. We have 10-foot ceilings, and so the doors are 8 foot tall. So they're pretty big doors. So what I've got here is just a round punch, and I'm going to just punch out these pins that are in the hinges here. There we go, just tapping those out. This is just a close-up. I thought I would get you a little bit closer. What I'm using here is a flat-ended punch. If you don't have something like this, you can use a nail or a screwdriver or anything that's small enough to get into that hinge and punch that pin out. So you just tap it up and then you lift the pin out. So the last one is up high. I had to get the ladder to get up here to get to this one and tap it out. Now this one was a little bit tighter, and I think it's because all the other pins are out and the door might be hanging over just a little bit. So I had to tap up on it almost continually to get it out to the end. Now it's time to lift the door off the hinges, and not quite sure how heavy this will be since it's mostly glass, but let's see. I'm going to open the door here, and as soon as I do, you see it start leaning forward. Now it's important not to let it lean forward too much because you could stress the hinges on it. So I kind of grabbed it and tried to lift it straight out off the hinges. Now it's heavier than I expected it to be a fiberglass door with glass in it. So I'm going to get my wife to help me carry this out to the sawhorses that I have set up outside. Here I've just got a couple of sawhorses set up. I put some moving blankets over the top of them so that when we put the door down on it, it's not going to scratch the door up at all. I'm going to get the help of Mrs. Thistlehill Farmstead to help me carry this door out. I'm going to tilt it over here. I'm going to give her hopefully the lighter end, the one with the glass in it, and I'll take the front end. And we'll carry it out and put it on the sawhorses. So now that we've got the door out on the sawhorses, I want to mark the vertical or the center line of the door. This door is 36 inches wide, so the center of that would be 18 inches. So I'm going to mark 18 inches here. And then I'm going to make another mark down here toward the bottom, and then finally one up toward the top. And the reason I'm doing this is I'm going to take my straight edge and I'm going to draw a line through those 3 marks to locate the center line of the door. So here we go. I've got my straight edge, lining up those 3 marks I made, and then I'm going to draw a line right down the center of the door. And this will be used to align the template that came with the doggy door to cut out the hole in the door. Step 3 is to drill holes in the corner locations of the where you've marked your template, and then to take a jigsaw or some type of saw and cut the hole out. So here I've got the template taped on the door, now lined up with the center line. I've got my 1/2 inch drill bit, And I'm going to mark the corners where I'm going to drill the holes here. And the reason I'm using the drill bit is the drill bit being 1/2 inch in diameter, I need to move back 1/4 inch from the edge of the line that I want to draw so that the outside line will be in line or tangent with the hole I drill with the drill bit. Now I'm taking a little center punch here and just kind of punching the location where I'm going to drill the hole. And even though this door is fiberglass, it did punch just a little dent there, which will help when I get ready to drill the holes for the door. So now I've got a smaller drill bit here. I'm going to drill a pilot hole just because it's easier to drill a pilot hole and get it in the right location with a small drill bit rather than try to drill that big 1/2 inch drill bit to start with. So here I am, I've drilled my pilot holes, and now I'm coming back with the 1/2 inch drill bit, and I'm going to drill the 4 holes with the 1/2 inch drill bit. Now when I started drilling the holes, I kind of realized that it's hard for me as I'm leaning over to tell whether I have this exactly vertical or not. And that's one of the things they cautioned you about on the installation instructions, is to make sure you drill your holes vertically. So what I did was I went and got my speed square, and I set it on the door here so that I can make sure that my holes are exactly vertical through the door, straight through. So I'm just using my speed square to line up my drill bit to make sure I'm drilling in a straight line. Now I'm just taking a small mini vac, and I'm vacuuming up these little particles because they're fiberglass and I don't want them to get on the ground. I don't want the dogs to be able to get into them. So I'm just taking this little hand vac and vacuuming up all of the shavings from drilling those holes. Now that I have my 4 corner holes drilled, I'm going to take my straight edge again, and I'm going to draw a line from the edge of those holes that I drilled, or a line tangent to the edges of those holes, and that will mark the outside of the doggy door and where I want to cut that piece out. There we go, I'm drawing the second one, and I'm going to the outside of those drilled holes. And then finally I'm going to do the one across the top. And there you go, I have my lines that I'm going to cut with the jigsaw now to cut that panel out. What I'm doing here is I'm putting on some blue painter's tape just to protect the door, so that when I'm cutting it with the jigsaw and the foot pad of the jigsaw is sliding across the door, it's not going to scratch up the door and mar the finish or mess up the paint that's on the door. Now I've got a new pack of blades here for my jigsaw, and the one I'm going to pick is the one that's meant for metal. And the reason I'm doing that is it has a much finer tooth on the blade, and I think that'll do good for cutting this fiberglass door. Now the ones that are meant to cut wood, they have a much more aggressive blade, and I think that might chew up the fiberglass. So I'm going to use this metal one, and I'm just going to check here just to make sure it's long enough to go all the way through the door, and it is. So let me go ahead and put it in my jigsaw and we'll start cutting. Now I'm just sliding this through the little hole that I drilled, and then I'm going to start cutting these out, following the lines that I had drawn on here. Now it may look like I'm going pretty fast, but I have sped this up so that you won't have to suffer through watching me slowly cut this line. But I'm just taking my time, going slow, and making sure I follow the line. Now I'm going to turn around and come back and just cut this small piece here to make sure the corner is square. And you can see, even though I put the tape down, it did actually tear the tape a little bit. So I'm glad that I put the tape down so that I wouldn't mar the finish on the door. Now I've moved over to the other side. I'm going to cut the other one the same way I did the first one, just following my line that I marked out previously. Okay, now I'm just switching over and going back again on this top side to square off the corner. There we go, we got the two sides cut. Now I'm going to go ahead and clean up again, just vacuum up the dust from the cutting. All right, now that I've got that all vacuumed up and cleaned up, I'm going to go ahead and pull this tape off. And you can see, even though I taped that up, I still scratched the paint on the door just a little bit. But I do have the original paint from the builder that we painted the doors with, so I can easily go back and touch that up. Okay, I've got all the tape off. First two sides cut. Now I'm going to focus on taping up this upper side, the top, and the bottom, and cut those. Here we go. I'm going to cut this one here. Now when I started to cut, I realized I couldn't see my line very well, so I just remarked it and cut my line. Now I'm moving down to the bottom, and I'm going to cut this bottom. I apologize for being in front of the camera there, but I did cut that bottom piece. Let's take that out and see what we have now. Alright, I still need to cut through that. Let me get a longer knife. I had to grab a longer knife here to try to cut the styrofoam. There we go. I believe that has it. Now, I just don't want to break that piece off of there. Maybe I'll go down through the bottom. Okay. Why will that not come out of there? junk. There we go. Wipe it off a little bit. Yeah, so that's why I put the tape on before. Okay, this is the inside, so let's see what we get. Yeah, I think that is going to cover that little crack there pretty nicely. We flipped it over, right? So this is the inside. So I guess we'll carry it in. Yeah, I don't know which. I guess we can flip it back over. I don't know which way to go with it. Yeah, this might be better. Okay, and then we can carry it in. Yeah, okay. Okay, ready? Okie dokie. Now that we've got the door back up, I just saw a fly come through that hole. Get out of here, fly. It's amazing how a fly can find the hole to come through. So here are the new fasteners that I purchased. This is the plastic one that came with the door, and here's the metal one that I got at my local Ace Hardware. And then here are the little acorn style nuts that I got to go on the outside of the door. Now my thought behind these acorn style nuts is that once they go in the door and sit down in this slot, there's no way that anyone who might be trying to take those off from the outside would be able to do that. You have to be on the inside to be able to take the screws off. Step 4 is to measure the thickness of your door, and then you're going to cut those little black plastic strips to the thickness of your door, and those are going to line that interior hole that you just made in your door. Now I realize I said in that previous clip that you cut these to the thickness of your door. Actually, the instructions says that you need to cut these 1/8 inch wider than the thickness of your door, and that's what these little grooves are on these plastic pieces. They're in 1/8 inch increments. So what I'm doing is I've measured the thickness of my door, and then I'm cutting these 1/8 of an inch wider than the thickness of my door. And how I'm doing this is just using a utility knife, scoring the plastic, and then just snapping it. So here I'm going to do the next one. Find my line and score it with the knife. You want to make sure you keep your fingers out of the way when you're doing something like this. Okay, got that one done, and then you just bend it and snap it. There we go. Now that I have all these cut, I'm going to test fit them into the door. And you see there's a ridge right on the edge there that has those little feet that stick up. And these plastic pieces just kind of snap right down in there in the feet. So you see those white pieces sticking up against the brown separator there. And you just plop those in there. Now the instruction manual did say that if you wanted, you could use some duct tape to connect the edges or the corners of these things to make it even more airtight, or to make it seal a little better. I have some Gorilla tape, which happens to be brown, so I think it'll blend right into this. So I'll get that tape and I'll tape these edges together. But right now I'm just doing a test fit to make sure I've got them all cut to length. and that looks good. And here's my Gorilla Tape. And I'm going to take this tape and just tape the edges together. This stuff is extremely sticky and it's hard to even pull off the roll, as you can see. But that's what makes it so good, I guess. I'm going to put it down here on the counter and I'm going to cut it to get me a straight edge. Now this countertop is a quartz, I believe, yeah, quartz countertop, and it has that leathered finish on it. That's what my wife wanted when we built the house. So me cutting on the countertop should not hurt it, but don't tell her because I may get in trouble. So what I'm going to do is just pull out some pieces here and just kind of lay these down onto the tape and then cut them to fit. All right, so I've got all of these little separator pieces taped together. Now it's time to see if they fit in here properly. And yeah, that looks pretty good. There, it's all together, and let me give you a close-up. This just shows you how these things slide behind these little white tabs and how my tape is on there. So that should give me a good airtight seal around the doggy door, and we're ready to put it in the door now. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to slide in that piece that I just put the separator on. I'm going to slide it in to the outside of the door, or from the outside, and I'm going to tape it in place. Now this is where this task could have been a two-person task. If you had another person, you could, well, hey, Dixie, she's going to take a look and see what's going on. Already wanting to use the door. So if you had two people, you could have one person holding from the outside while you put the screws in. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use some painter's tape and tape it to the door so that it holds it up onto the door while I put the screws in from the inside. Now you see I'm putting this piece of tape all the way across, even the flap, and should have pulled that flap out and put the tape across. And you also see me sliding the screws in here from the outside. I decided that I wanted to slide those screws in from the inside so that the nuts would be on the outside. Those acorn nuts that I purchased would be on the outside. That way it's tamper-proof. If I were to leave these screws like this, anyone could come in with a screwdriver and just unscrew those screws and take the doggy door out. Now, not that there's a whole lot of room there. Somebody with long arms may be able to reach in that door and reach the lock, but I don't think so. Let's see if we can get this thing together. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the nuts on the outside, and that way no one can really tamper with them if they're trying to take the doggy door off for some reason. They really can't do it because they'll be embedded in in the door here, and you won't be able to get a screwdriver on them. So let's see if we can get this through here. Hey, Dix. Let's see. There we go. And let me get one of my screws. What do I do with them? Okay, where's my screwdriver? Right here. Tighten that up a bit. Okay. That's one. Let's see if I can get another one on here. There we go. You're really huffing, baby. Have you been out running? You've been running fast? Let me see if I can reach here. Okay, that's two in. And like I said, this way you really can't get a wrench or you can't get anything on there to try to take it off. Let's see if I can get another one through here. There's another one. Okay. There we go. Okay, that's three. Let's keep going. These might be a little harder. They're all the way on the other side. Hard for me to reach all the way through. Yep, let's see. Let me see if I can reach through the doggy door here and get those going. There we go. There's one. And let's see if I can get this other one through. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Let me tighten those up. All right, take this tape off. And I'm gonna have to do a little touch up to the door. Looks like it's pulled the paint off there a little bit, which that means the painters did not sand this door before they painted it. But hey, we can do that. All right, is it straight and level now? Let's take a look. Now, as you can see, like I said, with those button head screws on there, I think it looks nice, and no one can really get a wrench on those to take them off if they're trying to break in or get in. Of course, you can still reach through, but you know. Let's take a look here, what it looks like on this side. Okay, pretty good. Is it level? Let's see. Looks pretty level, it's pretty straight. Let's tighten the screws up a little bit more. Now that's bottoming out on those cap head screws, but that's fine because it's good and tight. And that looks good in there. Yeah, that looks good. All I'm gonna have to do is caulk in these side openings here, because there's definitely air coming through there. And let's try out our closure. There we go. That snaps on like that. And then snaps off. So, yeah, there we go. Now, we just need to train the dogs to use that and see what they think. So here we go. The finished product. It turned out pretty good. And now we just have to teach the doggies, Dixie, you want to try the door? We just got to train them on how to use the door. Let's take a look at the outside. Here it is from the outside. And like I said, I think with these cap head, hey, who's that? With these cap head screws on here, there's no way that anybody is going to be able to... Hey, Charlie, come on, buddy. Come on out. That's a good boy. You did the door. That's a good boy. You did the door for the first time. They're going to have to get used to it. I don't know. It seems a little high to me, the way they have to hop over to get in, because there's a little lip here. I swear to goodness, every time I start filming, Bandit. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. We hear you. He's out there. So, yeah, it seems it's a little high because I have to hop over it to get in and out. But I set it at shoulder height, and I guess you don't want the dogs to have to squat down. I don't know if a dog can squat down to get in and out. Let's see if he'll come back in. Charlie, come on, buddy. Hey, guys, who wants a treat? Come on. Come on, Charlie. Come on, Dixie. Come on. Good boy. Come on, Dixie. Good girl. Good girl. Y'all were doing great. So that was the installation of the PetSafe Extreme Weather Pet Door. I know the video was a bit long, but it's got a lot of steps to this, so I'm glad you stuck with me to the end. And I hope that means that you like this video, so go ahead and give me a thumbs up while you're here. And remember to subscribe to the channel and ring that bell notification so that anytime we post a new video, you'll get notified. Thanks for watching.